Yes, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Rugby Muscle podcast. I'm your host, as always, TJ. And yes, we are back doing guest episodes, and we are starting off with an absolute bang with Elijah Taylor. Elijah is a rugby league player who has played in the NRL for the New Zealand Warriors, Penrith Panthers. I believe he did a year with West Tigers as well, and has since made his way to the UK. Oh, he's also played for New Zealand, but that might not be what you know him for. If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you know him from his social media account, Footy Hacks, where he aims to inspire, help, give tips and insights to young, up and coming rugby players who want to potentially make themselves into professionals or just make the best out of themselves. And this account has taken my notice for a long time now. And as soon as we started interacting, I knew I had to get him on. I know this guy is full of knowledge and full of wisdom, really. Just a really insightful episode where we discuss his career, how it came about, the lessons that he learned, and then we'll also get into some tactics that I think often go underrated for rugby players. And that's not just up and coming rugby players that want to, potentially become a professional, but that's for rugby players of all levels. Of course, if you do enjoy it, give this episode or give the podcast, should I say, on Spotify a 5-star rating. Let me know any questions you have for Elijah in the comments below on YouTube, because we are definitely going to get him back. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't seen his account, then get ready for the goggles to come up. He told me beforehand that these aren't any special fancy the Facebook Meta goggles or the Apple whatever they're called. He got them off of Temu. I thought it was quite on brand for him to wear them for the episode, so I do enjoy the fact that he did. But more than that, I enjoyed the insights and the tips that we discussed in this episode, and I think you're going to as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. There we go. All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Rugby Muscle podcast. Today, I'm joined by Elijah Taylor. Elijah, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, bro. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it. Been following your content for a long time, and I'm glad to be on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Your content is also top notch. I'm really been impressed with what you've been doing. Um, in fact, would you associate yourself more with doing that now than you do as an actual player yourself?
Oh, a bit of both. It's something that I've always wanted to do is give back to any young kids coming through. We're playing championship now. We've got promoted up to the championship. We're trying to get the Super League, so we're in the off season now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both at level. I think I can help a lot of kids with the advice and just trying to give it as much as I can to give them some tools for their journey when they're trying to get up to the pro level.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I agree. And I think the advice that you give is so like level-headed and so sound. And I think that like so many kids, especially from someone that has been there and done it, need to hear, and not even just kids, man, like any players, like the advice you give isn't just for anyone that's up and coming. It's very stoic, it's very level-headed, it's very growth orientated. And so like me personally, I lap that shit up. So you're doing a real good job, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, hopefully I can cross over to life in general. A lot of the content doesn't matter
Mm.
if you're a player or not, whether you want to be a carpenter or builder or something else. Hopefully the message resonates with you and another walk of life. So thanks, bro. Appreciate the feedback.
No, absolutely. You deserve it. So I guess we'll start from like the beginning as far as like your route into professional rugby, because uh I assume you as a Kiwi played union growing up as a kid, right? So how did you get into rugby league from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Played rugby union, wanted to be an All Black growing up, as all other New Zealand kids want to be. I played rugby union up until I was 18. I went to a school called St. Paul's College that was in Auckland. Saturday morning was first 15 rugby, and Wednesday after school was rugby league games. So the best of both worlds at St. Paul's. You played league on Wednesday, played union on Saturday. Both teams were in the top competition in Auckland City. And I got scouted from the Warriors. Tony Iro scouted me from a rugby league game. He offered me to come and just train with the Warriors development squad. No contract, no money involved, just turn up. And I jumped at the opportunity. There was a pathway I could see that a lot of players had taken from St. Paul's College into the Warriors and then made their first grade debuts. So I jumped at the opportunity, man, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity the Warriors gave me.
Yeah. From that experience, was it like really a lot to manage? Because I know a lot of kids that I work with and speak to, they have trouble managing like school and club, or if they're doing a representative side, they try to, they struggle to play 2 games in a week. And some of them, sometimes I get messages from guys that are like, 17, 18, and or even around that age, or older actually, and they consider taking time away from rugby just to hit the gym and then and get fit and then come back to rugby. How did you, as a kid, manage like that? Sounds like a lot of training, a lot of rugby. How did you manage that with your body and your time?
Well, first of all, I loved the game. Like I loved it when I was growing up. That's all I thought about was rugby. That's all I wanted to do is one day play for the All Blacks and one day play for the Warriors. And that was a lot of the kids and the culture at our school was a sporting college, and that's
Hmm.
always. Um, but to be honest, I would have recommended to any other kid like 'cause I put all my eggs in the rugby league basket and the rugby basket. Like, I didn't put any eggs into academic. I didn't put anything into study, um, which I don't recommend young kids do. I'm going to do a reel about it, but it was all or nothing for me. And I was willing to do train as hard as I could and change my family circumstances and hopefully make my old man proud and my mom. And yeah, I was just really driven to one day get into that professional environment. And I was surrounded by lads at St. Paul's as well with the same mindset. There were about 5 of us. We were in the Warriors and we were at St. Paul's as well. And we'd always push each other. So there was always that competition, whether at school, whether at a representative game. Um, yeah, there was always competition to push you to do more, especially at the school I went to. So that has a major influence on um, your approach, especially when you're surrounded by competitive players that are just as good as you, if not better than me. And yeah, that was my that was my way into the Warriors, and it worked out for a lot of the lads that come through that college.
Did you ever feel like really tired? Ever feel to the point where, because obviously you said growing up you loved rugby. I was the same, but there was a point when I was like 17 or 18 doing like managing school representative club, men's club and stuff. And there was a time where I was like, geez, I can't keep doing this. I feel so, I didn't know it was burnout at the time, but I just felt beaten to the ground. I was like, I need to take some. And luckily, I had a coach mentor at the time that said, hey, look, take a month off, don't play any games, still go to train and whatever, but just don't play and see how you feel like after that. Did you ever have many moments like that? Because obviously you had union and league and everything going on at the
Yeah,
same time.
I remember times where I'd get really sick, like run down sick, couldn't get out of bed. Like, there've been times where I've been like that. Um, run down, run down, run down. Oh,
Managing all the different rugby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, oh my gosh. I was just about to say something.
We can come back to it. It's also, I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things where
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you don't
that's
necessarily, oh, you got it.
I got it. Yeah, yeah. So we hardly did gym, bro. And this is what
Ah,
I've noticed when I come to United Kingdom. A lot of the lads like squat, bench, deadlift,
mm-hmm.
the gym, like bro, technique, sound, lifting heavy. But when we were young, bro, we hardly ever went to the gym. It was all just ball skills and running and outside playing like touch.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the like a lot of the boys hardly ever went to the gym. I only started properly going to the gym when I was about 18, 19. Um, but a lot of the lads, especially at when I came through, we probably did gym session once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I've definitely noticed with back home. to lads over here, where over here, bro, they've got their gym program sound. They're young, 16, 15,
Yeah.
17. Where when I was coming through, it wasn't so much about gym. It was all about like sport skills, tackle tech, IQ. So that yeah, that's something that you know probably didn't get as run down as much as some lads over here because yeah, we hardly did like anything heavy in the gym. If we did go to the gym, it'd probably be some bicep curls, some chin ups.
Yeah.
Like nothing too like no deadlifts, no squats. So yeah, yeah, that's probably a big difference that I've picked up on.
Yeah. I think it's because the numbers are out there. Like, Fletcher Newell squats this much, whoever does this on the bench press. And it's something that then guys have something like actually concrete to sort of aspire to lift. I see this a lot with like the box as well because their numbers are out there. And yeah, definitely in the northern hemisphere, we love gym. I mean, it's how I end up doing what I do. But it is something where you can put a number to that and you can say, oh, I lift as much as like I can bench as much as Sonny Bill. But Sonny Bill's not playing his level because of how much he can bench.
That's
You know what I'm
true.
saying? It's a
That's
lot
true.
harder to measure what he does. Um, Interesting. So from there, you had a decent career. What brought you to the UK after your NRL career?
I was 30 years old. I was under Michael Maguire at the West Tigers. I was 31, sorry. And yeah, Michael Maguire's got a reputation for hard training. And honestly, his training made me want to retire. It was such a tough year for myself personally. I went through some off-field stuff with my former manager, and I was done. I was done after when I was 31. After my last West Tigers contracted season, I was done mentally, physically, and I was just over it a bit, to be honest. Especially after all the stuff I've gone through with my manager. And so I was supposed to go into the airlines right after I finished, but then COVID hit, and then the airlines weren't taking anybody
Of
in.
course.
Yeah, no new pilots. Everything was shut down. Everything was locking down. And then I was like, man, I need a contract and I need to pay my lawyer fees. And so that's when Salford reached out and they were keen to sign me to play. And then I was like, man, okay, yeah, I'll jump it. I'll take it. I'm really glad that I did because the way they see rugby league over here is so much different back in NRL. And it's so refreshing the way the English play their rugby league. It's a lot more free flowing. It's a lot more attacking. It's not as defensively structured as NRL. And there's a breath of fresh air coming over here. To be honest, I really needed it.
Yeah. It's weird how many opportunities have sort of been born out of the COVID situation. Like, obviously the what like no one could have planned anything about how it happened, but the realization is to now like what 4 years on from it, like how many little things changed the course because of it. And now, yeah, like you would never be doing what you're doing now if that was the
Yeah,
if COVID didn't come around, eh?
yeah. I wouldn't have started Footy Hacks. I wouldn't have done anything online. Yeah, I wouldn't have met all the friends I've met over here.
Mm.
Uh, Sargentson, he's center I used to play alongside. He's the one that prompted me to start doing Footy Hacks. He was always on my case. But yeah, but like if I stayed in Australia, I would never have come to England.
Mm. And like the fact that you were so burnt out from rugby, you were like, I can imagine because again, I feel like I've been there on a similar scale where it's just like when I was, you do it all your life and it's just beat down after beat down. Your body takes a bit of a beating and you don't realize how quickly or how some of those things can still heal. You lose sight of the fact that it is such a fun and unique game and you get to do it. You don't have to do it. Obviously, in your case, being a full-time professional, it's a little bit different, but like it's very easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah,
Um, you can go into the off-field situation if you wish at this point as to why you ended up getting a bit burnt out with that as well. Because as much as we try to compartmentalize all these things, they do all influence each other, right?
yeah, definitely. So as I said, Mike Maguire's training regime, he went to Wigan, was successful. He went to South Sydney, was successful, but the way they trained, like all the boys were retiring early. Like these shoulders, like Sam Burgess retired early. heaps of boys from
Hmm.
Wigan early because the way training was so physically hard, full contact training sessions. And
I hear that with Eddie Jones in Union as well. Like he's
I-
very good
yeah,
for a very short period of time, very intense, but it's not sustainable, right? But that's good for one team that wants success, but not good for the bloody 30, 50 players that are part of that squad, eh?
absolutely. And I was 31 at the time. If I was 18 and I was doing that training, I would have loved it. You know, I would have
Mm.
like, man, how good's this? You know, this is so cool. But I was 31, bro, and I was like, man, my body is like telling me to stop, because this is like the way we trained was crazy. I'm not overstating that. The amount of full contact we did. Um, and I knew, yeah, I was just saying, man, I can't keep doing this. Like this training is just way too hard, difficult for me. And that's what I said. Coming up to the UK was just a breath of fresh air because training is not as nowhere near as hard, and nowhere near as taxing physically on the body. There's not much pressure. There's no media pressure. There's no outside pressure because rugby league's not a very big game over here in the UK. So
Hmm.
there was so much. It was like real breath of fresh air when I came over here to the United Kingdom. But yeah, I'll never forget Michael Maguire's training sessions, mate. They were honestly brutal.
Yeah. Um, I, and I think like that in itself, it's one thing getting yourself up for one game, but when every training session has that level of intensity,
Oh,
like,
bro,
yeah, I can imagine.
absolutely.
Okay, so what surprised you about the difference here? Did you come here expecting it to be maybe not quite as hard, but still of that ilk of like still having to smash yourself every single week, or did you know before you even came here it's going to be a little bit easier, especially training wise and on training load wise?
Yeah, a lot of the lads that had come over here, they all told me like training is not as hard. The weather conditions, it's not a 40-degree heat. You're running a Bronco,
Mm,
the sun's beaming. Um, the scrutiny, media scrutiny, that's a big one. A lot of people don't realize that how much pressure you are actually under to perform in the NRL because it's such a big sport. If you play a bad game here in Super League, no one knows, no one cares. But if you play a bad game back home in NRL, yeah, you might get dropped. Another one was there's only a top 25 roster over here compared to back home in NRL. There's like a top 30, and you got the five best juniors, and they're all chomping at the bit to get into the first grade squad to get a starting jersey as well. So that pressure that comes along with a lot of pressure.
mm,
Uh, there's not as much travel here in the Super League. You only just drive down the M62, and that's your game. You turn around, come back home the same day. Where NRL, you fly out, you stay over a night, stay over 2 nights, come back home, recovery, just the little things like that. It all adds up. Um,
for sure.
and they did a lot of the lads said Super League is more physical than the NRL, that's 100% true. But the NRL is so much more faster, way
Yeah.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. So were you ever in that time, I guess when you got that Salford contract offer, were there any points where you were entertaining, because obviously you grew up playing Union, were there any times that and on your Footy Hacks page you post a lot about Union as well. So were there any times where you considered crossing over?
Yeah, absolutely. There was probably before I went to the West Tigers, there was an opportunity to go down to the Crusaders. I was really looking forward to that, but if I went to Union, there'll be a massive salary drop, obviously, because I'm a rookie, where
Ah,
I was already established in league, so I'll be
mhm.
a massive haircut if I, went to Union. So that was one of the main reasons why I stayed with league. But I'd love to have just an amateur game before I actually retire of rugby union because that's the game I grew up. It's the great game I love playing. Fell in love with rugby union back watching the All Blacks and that. So um, I know a lot of the lads play some amateur rugby here in the off season. So maybe I should go and have a game.
Yeah, yeah, you could absolutely do that. I know loads of those clubs up north. Um, a lot of the players double up. Um, especially especially even probably even more so as they get older because they take it sort of less serious. And you
Yeah.
don't have to play week in, week out. I had a client played for Macclesfield. Someone else was it doesn't matter. It's not important. But the point is, yeah, they would double up and same thing as well. Like you can make Union or the Union season feel a little bit less physical as far as like the amount of impacts go. It's you're more likely to get those huge impacts in league compared to Union, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, especially going back 10 meters and then someone's got a full sprint up running against you. I haven't played Union at the top level, so I can't give a good reply. But I know rugby league. When they're coming off the back fence, there's nowhere to hide.
Yes.
Yeah,
Those are the clips that always make like the big highlight videos is the kickoff, man. And still now, like every time I watch, it's like every single week there's some guy getting smashed in the head almost any given week from a kickoff.
yeah.
They're the brutal ones.
I never took those carries. You got to be cut from a different cloth to take those
Yeah,
carries. I know
because
some lads they love.
you could do it perfect, and you still like you're going up against three blokes. So like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just a massive collision,
All right, so from
and then
there you move to the UK.
back to your other
Go
point
on.
with rugby league, it's so repetitive. Where rugby union, there's far more intricacies you can learn about your position. Where rugby league, it gets a bit mundane the older you get because nothing changes. It's just run hard, tackle hard, and that's it. Where rugby union, you can specialize in lineouts, you can
Yep.
specialize in scrummage, you can get better at that scrummage technique. Where rugby league, bro, is just like run it straight, tackle, and yeah, mentally that gets a bit boring after a while. That gets like you've done it since you're 18 years old. Yes,
Mm.
yeah, that's just the point that I've noticed over the years. Yeah,
That's true, and like we can get into this actually because I've always wanted to explore like the mindset of like or the idea behind union and league because people on the surface would say and obviously you see with what the NRL has become down under, it's an absolute different level. But the global appeal of rugby union seems to continually growing, and I do think that it is that like it is because it is a more complex game. It is more layered, which means there's more tactics, more everything. Like you can have one team that specializes in the box kick, you can have others that like never kick, and you can there's so many different ways to sort of play the game, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, Sean
I
Long.
think
Oh, sorry, you go.
go on. I was gonna say you saw it in the World Cup, right? With how even the teams that that don't even have a professional league still manage to compete on some levels with world class teams because of the fact that they could specialize in certain areas because they could get well drilled and because they could catch other teams sort of hiding, and I think or catch them where they might be weak or just be really specialized in certain areas. And I think there's so many different ways that you can play rugby
Mm.
union. Whereas like league, you gotta just gotta man up. You just gotta beat your opposite number. And the more players that beat their opposite number usually is just how you win the game, right?
Bro, nailed it on the head. Absolutely. Like tactically, rugby union is it's crazy once people really get into the details, and those lower countries can compete when they're trying a different tactic of rugby or different brand of rugby. Where you're
Mm,
so like in rugby league, bro, it's run hard, tackle hard. Like who's gonna give in first? Who's
mm,
That's it. That's the game. Just if you watch Penrith plays, they just play the same way, but they just do it consistently and wait for you to break, and that's it. And that's the game. But with rugby union, you could tactically kick teams, pressure, different tactics, how much you commit to the ruck. Like, bro, there's just so many different ways you can play it. That's what I like about the sport.
mm. But I also think that that's why we get in union now so many former league players coming across to coach because the basics of attack or the basics of attack up north, the basics of defense in the NRL, like those things are huge and like this and they matter like the tiny percentages matter that much more because of like that's what the game is about. So you see so many coaches now are from a league background, and I do think, like, especially the skills coaches or the attack and the defense coaches, because that's all they've got to focus on, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And there's so many, especially over here in the UK, crossover training as well. That's what I like about um, teams over here. Like we will train against Doncaster, a rugby union team, just to mix it up, and that's unheard of back in New Zealand. The rugby league
Mm.
team in alongside or against a rugby union team. Um, yeah, man, it's so much better over here, in my opinion, in terms of that.
That's cool. So did you start Footy Hacks once you moved to Salford, or was it before that?
So I started when I was about 6 months ago. So
No
uh,
shit. Is it only been going that long?
yeah, bro. Yeah, I started February. That was my yeah, that was my first post.
Nice.
Um, yes, I've been over here for about 4 years now. Left Salford 2 years, 1 year ago. So when I just left Salford, I came to Oldham. I'm at Oldham Rugby League now.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and I started Footy Hacks the start of this year. So um, yeah, bro. I'm happy that I can help some kids out there some way, shape or form. And it's people have taken a liking to it, and so I just got to keep on making the content.
Yeah. Have you noticed what sort of mindset, or what sort of I guess hack that your tip that you've given has been the most well received, and what sometimes just doesn't work for people, or people just don't like to hear it?
Um, it's usually everything about friends. The friends you hang around with, they're the ones that get the most comments or the most shares or the most likes. Is in the DMs, it's majority parents in the DMs,
Hmm.
and it's the parents saying when you say it, he will listen to you. They won't listen to if it's coming from you. They'll listen. My son will listen, but if I say it, he's not going to listen to me. So
Mm.
a lot of the content ideas are parents in the DMs. Um, you know, please say one to young kids hanging around with the wrong friends. Um, so yeah, it's the majority of the ones where I talk about, be careful who you hang around with, who you spend your time with. Those are the ones that get the most reception because yeah, it's so true, bro. Coming through, I've known a lot of talented lads better than me, but they hang around with the wrong crowd and they were just around the wrong people, and they didn't kick on up to the pro level. So it would definitely be the ones to do with who you surround yourself with.
Mm. And they all end up seeing it too late eventually, right? Like, it's hard to get people in it at a time, because you do become, the sum of the people that you're around. And if you're around these people that just constantly blame others, or are never accountable, and just don't want to put in the extra work and want to just be negative people, it's very easy just for you to be like that as well, and it's hard to really pull yourself out and say, hold on here, like, because again, you just, you don't want to hear that message.
Absolutely, and if you're going to hang around drinkers, the people that drink all the time, you're going to become a drinker. You're going to hang around with gamblers, you're going to become a gambler. Um,
Mm.
hey, you are who you hang around with. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Bro, that's a great quote that because I always look back at the players that were better than me coming through. They were so much better than me, and you probably know some players as well coming through where they had
Hmm.
but they just spent time with the wrong crowd, in the wrong environment. Drinking, partying, missing training, not even turning up to training, and then that's them done. So yeah, and I know that a lot of kids that watch the content, they're at that age where they've got that friend that wants to go party. They're at that age where there's one of the friends at school got fake IDs. They can go out. So just giving the heads up to the kids.
Yeah, and it's also like one of those things where have you heard I can't remember the story about, there's a fisherman, and he would keep his crabs all in a bucket, right? And there was no lid on the bucket. There didn't have to be a lid on the bucket. And someone would ask, like, why not? Can't they, like, climb out? Because there's ways that they can climb up the net to get out. But they never do, because every time a crab gets close to the edge of the bucket to get freedom, the rest of the crabs just claw at him and bring him back in. And
Good
that,
one. That's a good.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good one.
and that is like the people that you hang around with, because you know they give you shit for trying to better yourself. And you know, the classic one always, I had this a lot when, because I played men's club rugby from when I was like 17, and I had a real good mentor coach that was coach of that team. He then left, and then a lot of the other players, like I was looking up to play at a higher level, and you know, a lot of players would look down on you for trying to better yourself, and that you see that at all levels, not even just like the pro level or with the kids. You'll see that with like a 35-year-old that says, "Hey, I still want to play rugby. I want to like try my best." And you know, the guys that are there that are always injured or don't take their rugby seriously. Ah, what are you doing? Like getting into shape? What? How boring! Like I'm gonna go to the bar. Like,
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
and and it's also like these people that are holding you back or potentially could hold you back, they're not necessarily bad people. They just want a different life. And it's about like recognizing that if you want to do something, you've got to take that action. Hey.
100%, bro. Absolutely. Nail on the head there. It's so true. So true.
Yeah.
Because yeah, yeah, some friends don't want you being successful. You know, they don't want you to stay with stay with them where they are.
Hmm.
And you
It's
know,
not even like they don't want you to be successful. It's just that they want you to stay with them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And if you're successful, you go away.
yeah, and this is universal. This isn't rugby now. You know, we're talking
Hmm.
all walks of life, every kid out there. You know, this is not just rugby anymore. So it's a message that's powerful, and that everybody's going to go through, especially in the teenage years, bro. You know what it was like. I know what it was like, and yes, hopefully, some kids out there understand. You know, this is going to happen.
Yeah. A lot of your tips, they seem very stoic. Have you ever been into stoicism? You read around it or learned a lot about it?
Yeah, I've just read quotes from Marcus Aurelius, and
Yeah.
not all the old Stoics from, um, because there's so much wisdom in what they say, and it's so relevant today, even 2,000
Yeah.
years later. The messages are still resonate, and they're simple messages too. Not many words, but they apply. And yeah, I've definitely used a lot, taken some quotes and then chopped up the content to add a rugby
Hmm.
in there, and then try and knit it together and post it as a reel. So yeah, definitely use a lot from the Stoics.
Do you find that like it is crazy? Like thousands of years ago, there were humans that had the exact same problems that we have, just in a slightly different context, man. Like, and you must have seen it like almost like direct parallels to your career, because I can imagine the way your career planned out, and also you know off field and stuff. Um, like stoicism is such a good answer to that stuff for when you meet up against things that you really don't want to face, or how to move forward but to still keep a good impact, and still trying to do your bit in the world.
Especially with the pressure that comes on all the noise, especially back home in NRL. A lot of pressure that comes with the job, a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure from your teammates, coaches. Brian, have you ever got a cool head about yours, like calm thoughts or calm thinking? Bro, you're going to get caught up in it really quick. I'm glad I didn't have social media back in NRL. I don't know if I would have handled all of the stuff that goes online, but I'm pretty grateful I didn't jump on then because, bro, there's just yeah, so many distractions, so many things that can pull you away from staying focused. And yeah, like stoicism really helps in those situations.
It's easy to get caught up in it, no matter what level as well. Because I remember I've been in teams, I've been featured in forums, and there's people saying, "Oh, you know, this team's a disgrace" or whatever, and you always think like any negativity is just a reflection of the people that are spouting that negativity, as opposed to like anything going on. Because I don't know who these people are. Like, I don't know who the people are that go onto YouTube or onto Instagram and to hate on people. Like, why is that a use of people's time anyway? And if that is what that person chooses to do, why would you care what that person thinks?
Uh, honestly, that's the biggest question. Like, why? Like, why do people even have the energy to say that? Like, it's, I don't know. Like, again, I think it's just part of. human nature, or like people
Yeah.
just don't want people to pull them back down all the time. Um, that's my opinion anyway.
And it is like human nature also to still let it affect you, even though you tell yourself and it's why the message has to be repeated over and over, right? Because it's like you say all this stuff, and yet someone leaves a harsh comment, and your emotions aren't in the right place, or you've had a crappy day, and it's easy to let that stuff get to you.
Easy,
Um,
totally easy,
mhm.
and it's at fingertips as well. All you got to do is push a couple buttons and push send, and that's it. Easy.
Yeah.
That comment could put you in the newspaper the next day, or stuff like that.
Hmm. Um, a lot of your other stuff, I see a lot of like personal accountability, as in like I've seen it when matches, and I talk about this a lot, so I'd like to hear your opinion on it because I always say that rugby, because I've started up since retiring from rugby, I do jujitsu, and it's such a different sort of task, or I found the accountability level so different because firstly you can show up or you can not show up, and there's no teammates that will get on your back or anything about that, like, or you can take it light, you can really hide in the training, but in the competition in jiu-jitsu there's no one else to blame. In rugby it's so easy because there's 30 rugby union, there's 30 other people, or league there's 26 other blokes, because we're also including the ref, because it's very easy to say, oh, no one in our team did anything wrong, it's the ref that cost us that game. All right, but you lost by 20 points, like how much of an influence is he really going to have? Or you can get trounced, but that's because your teammates are not good enough, like, and you can, and even then you can say, oh, but you didn't chase back. And this takes a lot of, again, introspection and accountability, but you didn't chase back to make that tackle. Yeah, but that's because no one else is trying. So why should I try? Well, you've got 14 other blokes thinking the same thing. It's easy to escape some level of personal accountability, especially the lower down you go, because there's less, like, when you're at your level, there's lines of ridiculous athletes ready to take your spot if you're not stepping up. But that personal accountability is different when there's not that many people, or that level of accountability is more important because you haven't got those people chasing you.
So that comes down to your club culture, in my opinion. Like, if you've got a culture at your club that holds you accountable to what you do at training, what you do in the game. Again, back in NRL, everything's scrutinized. Everything, how much you weigh, what's your skin folds, what's your hydration? Are you hydrated today? Constant, constant, and that comes down from the head coach who sets the standards, sets the environment, and then the club culture that takes over from there. So I was in cultures where accountability was massive, like huge. And I know in some clubs, some cultures, it's not a very big thing. But if you can take self accountability and always hold yourself accountable to what you say, to how you train, to what you do off the field, on the field, as you said, bro, if it comes down to your performance, you've only got yourself to blame. You didn't make that tackle. Why not make that tackle? Why not push up hard and support? Why not be in that kick chase? Why not be that third man in? And if you're from a background culture in terms of the clubs I've been at, um, and the consequences for not holding yourself accountable, that's another big one. Like, if you don't, someone else is going to take your position. As you said,
Mm-hmm.
if there's 10 other blokes waiting for you to play bad, you know, I've said a reel a couple of months ago where your own teammates, dog eat dog will, they're happy when you're injured because they get to play, even though they're your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way professional sport is. And you have to hold yourself accountable. If you don't, like, you're going to lose your position, you're going to lose your jersey, and ultimately lose your livelihood. Um, so yeah, a lot comes. That's why I harp on to any young kid out there: just hold yourself accountable. Um, don't do shortcuts. Da 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 da. It's going to benefit them. I know it's going to benefit them. Whatever club they go into when they get older in the pro levels, if they held themselves accountable, they're the harshest critic of themselves and their performance and how they train, how they turn up. It's only going to put them in good stead for when they get older into the professional environment.
Yeah. So if we talk about like being their own harshest critic, is there a level where that gets like too damaging, because you also you have to find that balance between being your own critic, seeing like, oh yeah, I missed that tackle. A lot of people will then take the extra step and say, oh, I missed that tackle, I suck. I'm not good enough. What would you say to these people?
Um, I suppose when you get up to the high levels, there's a level of confidence about yourself, and you know you can do the job. You're there because you can do a job, and
Mm-hmm.
you. But everyone's different, so I probably didn't explain it as best as I could. Because personally, um, if a coach growled me, I want him to growl me. I don't want the coach to put his arm around me. My
Mm-hmm.
reaction, I want him to be straight up to my face and tell me. Where some
Yeah.
players, they need the cuddles, they need, oh, come here, you'll be all right, da, 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 you'll be all right. So I should have broken that reel down about the harshest critic because everyone's different. But I can only speak from my
Mm-hmm.
experience, what I've been through, that um, being your harshest critic can make you be proactive so you don't make those mistakes in the future. Um, but I also know in my mind when I've played good, I know I've played good. I don't need to say it, but I know in my mind I've played good.
Mm.
So everyone's different in terms of reaction and how they evaluate or how they reflect on their own game. Because I know a lot of young kids that would do that too. Oh, bro, I missed the tackle. I'm not good enough to be in this team. Oh, bro,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I'm welcomed in this team. Oh man, I don't think I'm I've done enough, deserve to be here. I can see how people can take that the other way as well. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that actually, because that's another.
No.
Yeah,
It's good. But if you expanded on it, I think you mentioned the word there. You said being proactive, and I think that is the other side of being accountable. Because if you're accountable and you say, "Oh, I missed this tackle," right? The
yeah,
proactive person then goes, "Right, what do I do about this?"
no,
What like you can say, "Oh, I'm not good enough," but you can also say, "I'm not good enough yet. What do I do to get better? Oh, I've got to practice my tackling. Oh, I've got to get stronger. I've got to set my feet, whatever it is.
that's a good one.
Like we're coming on to a good one. Yeah, we're helping
That's a,
each other here. But
I'll
that's
put it.
exactly it.
I'll
Because
put
it's too easy to sell yourself like, I just suck. Okay, there's nothing that you can do. Stop playing. You know what I mean? Like that's not the solution, is it? So you got to be like, and on the other side of it, um, you can sort of see your mistakes and not be held accountable because you can just sort of gloss over your missed tackles. You can gloss over. You can be too confident. The coach holds you. The coach tries to tell you. He tries to grill you, and then you just go, "Oh, that fucking coach doesn't know anything." And you're like, you know what I mean? So you get
absolutely
people
right.
on all ends of the spectrum, but it all comes down to accountability and being proactive. I think
Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah,
because there is that balance between being confident and then just being completely unaware of like your own shortcomings. So you got to be aware of your shortcomings, but you got to also be aware of like, okay, how do you like I think like if you took this mindset up of everywhere that you like, because I know now every level of rugby, you've got those VO cams. So everyone now videos every single game. I remember the same thing. I sound like an old man now. You're like, oh, back in my day, but we used to, when I was playing in training camps with Poland, they used to film every training session, and every mistake I made, I'd be like, oh crap, that's gonna get brought up on the camera later. And you'd be sat in that team meeting and be like, what are you doing here? And you're like, so worried about making mistakes. And then there would be, I could see, almost looking back on it, I could see where I would try to not, maybe not make a carry or maybe not make a big impact on a game or hide from making a big impact on a game because I was worried that if I mess that up, then I'm going to have to be held accountable. You know
mm,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it goes like both directions as far as like growth mindset goes, I guess.
yeah, man, definitely. But I encourage young kids out there to have your attitude on how you were productive and how you dealt with it instead
Yeah.
of instead of being the, oh no, what are you talking about? Like, bro, I'm all right, da 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 da. Like the more kids have your attitude and how you reacted to those situations. That's the attitude, in my opinion. That's the attitude they want.
Yeah.
I did a real, well, a couple of days ago, uncomfortable truths. Yeah, what do you do when you hear uncomfortable truths? You might not
Mm-hmm.
want to hear it. You got two reactions, you know. Number one is, oh, bro, who do you think you are? Da 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 da. Number two, yep, accept, acknowledge, take responsibility, sweet. And
Yeah.
it's important for a young kid out there because you know kids today, bro, they're very entitled. Like you know, like the world owes them something or something. They're not willing to work hard for something. I've noticed that a lot, especially in the younger generations coming through the systems. So you know, the kids out there can have your attitude in terms of that reaction. That's gold for them.
But even then, I would say I'd be looking back. I'm like, there are times where I was so there is that fear of making a mistake. So I would just luckily being a flanker, you know, there's not always loads of different ways that you're required to stand out. You could just really do your job. Uh,
Mm,
you know, Richard Hill back in the day, absolute legend. That's like he was the sort of guy. Just go about doing the dirty work and then keep your head down. That was all right, but then I only blossomed more when I did decide. All right, I don't care if I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to try and do whatever I can. Um, I think that's something I try and tell a lot of athletes I work with. It's like, especially right, and you touch on it as well because in training, like you are a lot of time. This is where rugby gets really weird because you know your best mates, your teammates. Once you step up onto the training paddock, your opposition, you're auditioning for the same role. So
100%.
if they look really good, yes, you're happy for your mate because he's got his spot, but he's just taking your spot.
Absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
like there is that balance between like not looking to make any mistakes at training. But if you're not going to ever make any mistakes at training, how on earth do you improve? Right? Because
Yeah.
you've got to put yourself out there. And I know so many people that would be afraid to put themselves out there, afraid to make mistakes in case then the coach sees them or they get brought back and later and like, oh, you made this, you missed this tackle, you messed up this pass. What's going on here? How comes you don't know this skill? Well, in a game again with so many other people on the pitch, you can hide that. But
Mm,
is
mm,
hiding that going to benefit you in the long term? Like
mm,
I would say no. Yeah. But yeah, I think the accountability, and I think that's what you mentioned up by far, and being your harshest critic. I saw like that was one of the ones I sent on to a few people because I'm like, that's how you have to approach it. Do you ever get any pushback on some of your tips that you give? Or
mm.
have you got one in particular that's got a lot of people saying, nah, not sure about this? Probably just your opinions on players more than the hacks
Uh,
themselves.
I'm trying to think. Mm, Humility. Yeah, so I said one about being humble, working your ass off, da 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 da. I mentioned the top players I played alongside, all have common traits, very modest, very courteous. And these like Sonny Bilbray, perfect example. Like
Mm-hmm.
League Rugby Union, this is when he's top of his game. Come back to NRL, won a competition in the Kiwis, first year back, bro. So humble, bro. Like you wouldn't hurt a fly. Very courteous. Da 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 da. After a game, he's the last one out signing signatures. All the boys are on the bus, but he's signing every single kid's freezing cold here in England. And when he interacts with the public, very manners, da da da. And then you see kids coming through where very cocky, very arrogant. The world owes them something. Where
Mm,
some push back at that, saying that's the way kids have to be in order to get through the grades. They have to be. They have
mm,
to put stuff out there. They have to be cocky. They have to be arrogant in order to push up through going up to the professional level. I disagree.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then when you play it alongside some of the best in the world, and they're very courteous and very humble. Um, you know, obviously proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Mm,
Like one of the, especially in the pro level, like when you're looking for contracts, I've always found like one of the best pieces of advice uh, I've ever heard is just be a good person because, like, at the end of the day, even if you're in a team, like, or any working environment, you've got to think about who would you like to work with? And so if you're a dick, right, it doesn't matter if you're like, you have to be the absolute best player you could possibly be to get away with being a dick. Whereas if you're a really nice guy and
Mm.
you're a savage on the pitch, or even you're like 80% as good as the dick, a lot of people would rather have the nice guy because they've got to go to training with them twice a week or however many times, or they've got to deal with them professional
That's
level as well. They've got
that's
to deal with them in the gym, they've got to deal with them in the extra training sessions. They've got to deal with them traveling. Like, you got to think and it costs you nothing. Like, you in your career, bro, you spent no time negotiating a contract when they said, "Hey, you're an 18-year-old up and coming. Do you want to come train with us?" Like, you said that was unpaid, right?
yeah, I'm paid. Yeah, just turn up. Just turn
How
up.
much better of a player did you get by just showing up? You could have not shown up, or you could have been entitled and asked for, like, "Hey, how much are you going to recompensate me for my time? You're a professional team. You could do that."
I don't think kids today would even bother if they weren't getting paid. To be
Mm.
honest, like, if a kid got invited to come train in the development squad, but you're not getting paid, you're not getting a contract, a lot of kids would be like, I'm not doing that. Like,
Mm.
and what?
Because then
Um,
they can't put professional athlete in their bio.
hey, bro, that's another story. Yeah, man. Yeah. But that's what I've noticed over the years, the generation. Playing for players' respect. That was a big one when I was young, coming through. That was
Mm.
everything. That was everything. And today it's just nah. It's not very important, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah, times, bro. Sign of the times.
it is. You get like the youngsters coming into the squads and, like, yeah, I know what you're saying with, like, with respect. Because I remember when I could say I was 17 playing men's rugby, like, if I try to say, "Come on, guys, like, step up," or something, they'd be like, "Listen, you're a kid. Shut up. Like, just do your job." So many people are so focused on, like, what others are doing. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a distraction from themselves. Right, Elijah, we got some members' questions before I let you run off, bro. Um, just a couple ones. Actually, we've got a couple rugby league players that have asked these questions, I imagine. Um, how would you help improve communication around the ruck?
Around the right communication, that would be on the training pitch, or in the dojo. If you're on the mats in the wrestle room, um, starts there. It's not don't have to be aggressive, but you just got to build your mind to talk when what doing jujitsu, but being talking at the same
Mm-hmm.
time and talking. Yeah, I'm going to flip him on his back. I've got ball. I'm last off the tackle. Communication starts there. Training. You got to drill it in the head. You got to drill it in the head at training, and then game day it will come out naturally. You're not even thinking about it.
Yeah. I think also, like, being as good as you can be in that tackle area, whether that means being really fit or being really strong, you're then clearer in your mind because of that. If you're absolutely knackered or if you're getting smashed, you're not
Yeah,
worried about, like, communicating which side you're going or anything like that. Like, you're just gasping for air. You're just trying the best you can to hold on to the guy. Then
yeah,
yeah, I think that helps as well. But I'm going to say that because I'm the strength and conditioning guy. Hey,
definitely. That would definitely help as well.
um, a good one here. I like, and I like this because this can sort of feed into rugby union and league. But he's transitioning from a middle forward to more of a playmaking role.
Yeah,
Any tips on how you'd go about doing that?
that depends on your coach. What kind of attacking structure does your coach want? So, example, in rugby league, there's the number 13. Some coaches have that number 13 as another halfback or another ball playing
Hmm.
middle, where some coaches will have him as another prop. So it really depends on what coach you have and if your coach will allow you to do that. Because there's a lot of coaches out there that are autocratic, they don't want a ball player. They'll say, no, ball playing is for halfbacks. It's not for you.
Hmm.
So that really comes down to the coach he has and the style of attack they want to play. But if he is got the green light to ball play, I'll be building my relationship with my halfback and my hooker. Good relationship so you can communicate easily and you can find the money on the ball and it just makes you ball play so much easier. when you've communicated and built a relationship with your half, your hooker, and your fullback.
Mm. Similar sort of story with Union, really. It's like because you get a lot of those forwards that only have done the donkey work, and then they want to start to pop up in the back line a little bit more, pop up a little bit more space. Same thing, but just talking to the fly half more. Like,
Yeah,
and it can even start by just doing a couple roll balls. You know, the ball like that's come from league to Union, and then now it's all you see in Union is the ball behind the back. You just get more confident with that, get more
yeah,
confident in all of those different roles.
yeah,
Like, because I know, so many forwards will just run that hard line and that's it. And that's okay if but that's not going to be the person asking this question.
yeah,
Um, and also, probably from what I said earlier, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes at training because that's where you can't just go into a match and expect it to happen without having done any work in a training pitch. And you can't expect to get any good without, like, actually making mistakes.
yeah, yeah. You got to nail that training, absolutely. And again, the coach has to give you the green light to
Yeah.
beat the ball. Because yeah, some coaches will be like, no, 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 you're just a donkey. Your job is to be a donkey. I don't need you ball playing like that, you know. So um, yeah, the coach has a huge detail on if you're allowed to play like that. But by all means, you get the opportunity, the green light to ball play. By all means, because it can add on to your game.
Yeah, and even if like the coach is of the open mind that he wants a couple forwards to sort of play open a bit more and get their hands on the ball to spread it wider, it's still worth communicating with the coach nice and early because if he's only known you as a hard carrier from day one and that's it, and then all of a sudden from nowhere you try to evolve yourself, he's going to piss on your bonfire straight away. He's going to be like,
Straight
shut that down.
away, straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah. He's gonna be like, what are you doing? Why are you past? Like, hit that up, right? Whereas if you say, hey, look, I'm looking to open up a bit more. I think I've got the hands. I think I can add something to this team.
Yeah,
At least you've got a couple of weeks of experimentation, or at least he knows and he's expecting that to happen.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming back from off season, you just started preseason. That's the
Hmm.
big time to start smashing it and doing it then when you first
Yeah.
come back season. Just to ingrain to the coaches, to the players that I want to try this before the season starts. Like at least give me a month ball playing like this. If it works, it's cool. If it doesn't, I give it a shot.
Yeah. And give it a few weeks. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
Oh,
And again,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay. What's your opinion on the upcoming IMG RFL grading? So I am assuming that you're going to be part of this, right?
Honestly, bro, I don't know. Rugby league's in a bad state over here compared to
Hmm.
NRL. Like financially, grassroots, um, like marketing, like rugby league, super league here is in a very bad spot, and it's been like this for a long time. IMG's come to save the day. That's the punchline. IMG's come here to change the competition up and to save the sport in the United Kingdom. Honestly, bro, I don't know if it's going to work. I haven't seen much that makes me think, oh, bro, this is going to be as good as NRL one day. Um, the way the game's run over here, bro, is very poor. It's very poor, and it's a shame because the product could be so much more here in the United Kingdom.
Hmm. I do think that like the NRL in Australia is the best. I mean, if we take another step to state of origin, that is apart from maybe top 14 in France, there is nothing else that matches the popularity, the product that is rugby league in Australia, NRL. That is the absolute peak of both codes. And I think all you've got to do is just learn those lessons from that game. Like rugby union in Australia, like rugby union in the UK, and obviously rugby league in the UK as well. They have sort of, I don't know what it is. They've seem to like have rested on their laurels a little bit. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the UK, football just taken up everything. It's gone up to a whole new level, and that
Everything.
no one even knew it even could possibly do. And I think apart from potentially top 14 in France, which still struggles to break across to the mainstream elsewhere because of the language barrier. But like you see the crowd, you see the product that they present. That's probably the closest thing. But the NRL has taken a complete other form, and I don't know what the other leagues, regardless of code, can do to sort of catch up. But they're trying their best. But I think it's a slow growth because
I
I don't
think
think the NRL grew overnight, right?
I know there was some times where, empty stadiums, like back in 1999, 2000s, early 2000s. Um, Over here, football is the beast. Like, no one's taking the throne of football. Um, I also think it's a culture thing. People are into TikTok or into online Fortnite games these days, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of they'd rather sit down and play Fortnite than watch a game of rugby, or the culture's changing a bit, electronic sports. But one thing, I never knew the NRL was that big over here in the United Kingdom. I never knew that. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was just because in Melbourne, if you go to Melbourne, it's a state in Australia. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have what NRL is, and they live in Australia. Uh, yeah, they're AFL mad, Aussie rules, and they wouldn't have a clue what NRL is in terms of they don't watch it. It's so weird you say this. So I've only noticed that NRL was big until I met coaches, rugby union coaches here in UK, and they were telling me, "Oh yeah, we watch the NRL all the time. We watch, their shapes, how they defend." And I was
Mm.
thinking, I thought NRL was only big in Sydney and New Zealand a bit, but it's definitely growing to what it is now. But it never was like that. I think the rugby union international game. I think that's where rugby is at its
Yeah.
proper. Everyone's watching All Blacks
Yeah.
England. Everyone's watching South Africa England. Everyone's watching the international games, and they probably wouldn't really watch a, I don't know, Bath versus Sale kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think rugby union will always dominate the international level, um, because everybody watches All Blacks England, South Africa England. Like
Mm.
that's never going to change, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would have said I just want to know how we can make that international like a little bit more saying inclusive sounds very 2024. What I mean by that is like when England play the smaller nations, or when anyone plays a smaller, like just getting them more and more involved rather than saying, okay, we've got 10 top international teams, let's close that off, and just capitalize on that. I mean, that's one route. The other route is to, like, I think the Rugby World Cup seems to, or seemed to have like reignited something as far as like the competitiveness of what international rugby could be. But then England went and played Japan this summer, and it wasn't even on TV, which is like weird. So
Oh,
I
no,
don't know.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't see that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So I don't know. This is a rant for another time and probably another podcast,
No,
like a
I love it.
complete different podcast. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
good.
me too. All right. And then, so last question. Oof, I think we've spoken a lot about this already, but to summarize, I guess, most underrated skills, both mentally and physically on the pitch.
On the pitch, underrated. Quick one will be nasal breathing, bro. Simple, but very effective. If you do deep nasal breathing and you can get your thoughts back as quick as you can, anyone can do this. It's a simple technique to learn, but it has so much benefits. So much better. I wish I learned it when I was younger.
Mm,
Um, and it's so simple to do as well. And you can get your thoughts back. You're not as fatigued. You can think clearer. Obviously, when you think clearer, you can perform better. You can execute better, because your mind's in the game and you're not chasing your breath.
hmm I think that's actually, you've answered both mental and physical with that, because it's like a skill that can be, I guess it is physical because you've got to actually physically breathe through your nose, but it's the mental benefits that it gives. Oh, well, it gives you both. Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Um, I saw it when I started coaching a team a few years back, and they started doing it. They would do, every score, whoever scored, whatever they needed to do, they would get in, and they would all do like one of the guys into his, I work with him now. He's into his meditation and that sort of thing. So he would guide through some slow, deep breathing through the nose. I'm like, yes, like that. If I'd have done that a lot more in my game, yeah, it would have put it just really helped out.
Oh, absolutely. That's vital. It's so vital for any young kid out there to learn how to nasal breathe under pressure on the field, get your thoughts back quick as you can, and then you're off to the races again.
Yeah, awesome, mate. This has been great. We'll get you back on for round two at some point, I'm sure. Your goggles have run out of battery.
Have they?
Yeah,
Oh,
they've stopped flashing on me. Yeah,
no.
send them back to Timu.
Dude,
Elijah, this has been great, mate. Obviously, I'll put at Footy Hacks in the show notes. People go follow. Like, honestly, if you're a rugby player that wants to get better and wants to just be a fan of the game, one of the best accounts you can go follow. Is there anywhere else or anything else that you want to plug?
got a music channel as well on Instagram,
Yeah.
at Boy Music. I'm into hip hop, so if you're into hip hop as well, lyrics and rapping, by all means, follow me there as well.
You think that's the best way? Again, a sign of the times that all the music now is also on Instagram rather than the YouTubes. I know you put it on YouTubes as well, but
I don't know. I'm just dipping my toe in the water. It's not too serious. It's pretty chill. It's
no.
pretty late, and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll link it there as well.
Oh,
This has been
right.
great, mate. Thanks for coming on.
All good, bro. Anytime. Looking forward to round two.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
All
Cheers.
right.